When the mountain's cap was gone, the mountain exploded. The explosion had the force of 24 megatons of energy. A lateral blast of ash, magma, rocks, and sand reached 100 stories high. It spread 10 miles wide and plowed down valleys and over ridges at speeds of up to 300 miles per hour. The eruption turned 230 square miles of forest into wasteland. 520 million tons of ash was blown nearly 16 miles up into the sky. The eruption continued for 9 hours. The ash cloud traveled eastward across the northern U.S. at speeds of 60 miles per hour. Within minutes of the blast, most of eastern Washington was in total darkness. When I hear the word megatons, I am confused on what point the author was trying to make. I know that in order to get the full meaning from this section, I need to stop and use a fix-up strategy to determine the meaning of the word. I am not able to gain meaning from the context or the words around it, so I will break the word down into its separate parts. I know that mega means a million, and I know what a ton is, so I'm speculating that the word megaton means a million tons. As I continue to read, I see that the author describes specifically the damage of the explosion. He talked about the eruption turned 300 square miles of forest into wasteland. 520 million tons of ash were blown nearly 16 miles up into the sky. That's a lot of energy. Lateral is a word I know from sports. In football, a lateral pass is one that is not thrown down the field. The quarterback throws the ball to one side or the other. So I can deduce that this blast was widespread in terms of width as well as height. Understanding the word lateral will help me understand the description of the volcano's damage. One eyewitness from eastern Washington reported, when the lightning subsided, it became eerily quiet. All traffic and outside activity had stopped. The sky was completely dark. The suffocating ash-filled air smelled of sulfur. None of us knew how to react. The sun finally broke through the ash cloud by the end of the day. In the twilight, we could see that the gritty, gray ash had covered the landscape. There was no color anywhere, only gray. 125 people survived the blast zone. Many of them offered their own eyewitness account of the blast. 57 people perished, including David Johnson. Many of them were never found. One resident, Harry Truman, who wasn't the president, became famous for his repeated resistance to evacuation orders. At age 83, he had been living at Mount St. Helens Lodge for 53 years. His body was never found. President Jimmy Carter flew over the disaster zone in a helicopter. Somebody said it looked like a moonscape, but the moon looks like a golf course compared to what is up there. It is a horrible-looking sight. There is no way to prepare oneself for the sight we beheld this morning, he said. The damage included over 200 homes that were destroyed, 15 miles of railway and 185 miles of highway were demolished. Over 7,000 bear, deer, and elk were killed. At least 12 million fish from a local hatchery were wiped out. Approximately 60,000 acres of trees were destroyed. The estimated loss was approximately $1 billion in 1980 US dollars. The thick layer of ash can still be found in many places across the state. As I read the loss costs our country $1 million, I now realize how costly it was monetarily. I've always known that the habitats surrounding the mountains were severely affected, but it was an expensive eruption too. This eruption was considered the dawn of earthquake science. Knowledge of earthquakes and volcanoes doubled after this experience. Technology has advanced greatly since 1980. Scientists no longer have to risk their lives to monitor earthquake activity nearby like David Johnston did. As I read this paragraph, I can deduce that something good came from the eruption of Mount St. Helens. The result was positive. the dawn or beginning of earthquake science. What we're going to do now is we're going to read a poem, and it's going to give you an idea of what we can expect to see around Mount St. Helens today.